بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. Dear respected viewers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to another brand new episode broadcasted live from the studio of Channel S, free to view on your Sky 814 to the program entitled In the Shades of the Qur'an. I'm your host Qamar al-Islam, and as always looking forward to having you all join us on this blessed day of Jum'ah. Religious slaughtering, a topic that has been dominating the news for some time in the last month we have seen, and this was due to the horrific footage secretly filmed in a slaughterhouse, which might play into an apparent conflict between religious slaughtering and animal welfare. Many have raised questions that the religious slaughtering is very inhumane and causes animal to die with pain. How true is this statement? What is the scientific evidence of the fact that animal dies due to pain or it is very inhumane? We will try and find out all of this question in our today's topic for discussion, which is religious slaughtering, arguments for and against. And to discuss this topic, we have with us a very renowned scholar of our community. He is the founding principal of Al-Qur'an Institute London and the respected Khatib of the Dar al-Ummah Jami Masjid London, Fadilatul Shaykh Al-Muhtaram Hafidh Shafiq Ar-Rahman Al-Madani. Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, fine. First of all, thank you very much for being here again and giving us your valuable time.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you very much.
To be here with you, inshallah, in front of the channel's viewers. Welcome to all of them, inshallah.
Thank you very much.
Jazakumullah.
প্রিয় দর্শক মণ্ডলী, আপনারা জানেন এই অনুষ্ঠানটি পাক্ষিকভাবে প্রতি শুক্রবার বেলা 5:30 থেকে 7টা পর্যন্ত প্রচারিত হয়ে থাকে আপনাদের নিয়মিত চ্যানেল এস টেলিভিশনে। আপনাদের যদি কোনো ধরনের প্রশ্ন থাকে, জিজ্ঞাসা থাকে মাসলা মাসাইল সম্পর্কে বা এনিথিং ইন জেনারেল রিলেটেড টু দ্য টপিক ও আউটসাইড দ্য টপিক, আপনারা আপনাদের টিভি স্ক্রিনের নিচে যে নাম্বারটি দেখতে পাচ্ছেন এই নম্বরে ফোন করে আমাদের সাথে সরাসরি কথা বলতে পারেন এবং আপনাদের মূল্যবান প্রশ্নটি আমাদের কাছে রাখতে পারেন। ইনশাআল্লাহ উপস্থিত অতিথি চেষ্টা করবেন কোরআন এবং হাদিসের আলোকে অথেন্টিক্যালি আপনাদের মূল্যবান প্রশ্নের উত্তর দেওয়ার জন্য। কথা আমি না বাড়িয়ে চলুন যা যাক আজকের অনুষ্ঠানের মূল আলোচনায়। Sheikh, the topic, as I've mentioned, is religious slaughtering. We have seen in the recent time that there was petition going around for and against. The animal welfare organizations or associations have basically wanted to ban any sort or any form of religious slaughtering, which includes the two main major faiths, Islam and Judaism. On the other hand, we want to protect our right, the sacrifice that we offer within the Islamic teachings, and so as the followers of the great other Abrahamic faith, that is Judaism. My first question to you today would be, what is the fundamental basic difference between the religious slaughter and the non-religious slaughtering?
Thank you. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين. والصلاة والسلام على رسوله محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. أما بعد. Dear respected viewers, brothers and sisters, viewers of Channel S, welcome to all of you in this new episode entitled Slaughtering, Religious Slaughtering, Arguments for and Against. And thank you for raising this question. What is the difference between religious slaughtering and non-religious slaughtering? Obviously, religious slaughtering is a slaughtering that happens in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And non-religious slaughtering is a slaughtering that is not bothered, is not concerned about the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's number one. Number two, in terms of the in Qur'an, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to Muslims, وَلَا تَأْكُلُوا مِمَّا لَمْ يُذْكَرِ اسْمُ اللَّهِ عَلَيْهِ. Whatever has been slaughtered in the name of any other being other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, don't eat it. And وَأُحِلَّ لِغَيْرِ اللَّهِ وَحُرِّمَ عَلَيْكُمْ حُرِّمَتْ عَلَيْكُمُ الْمَيْتَةُ وَالدَّمُ وَلَحْمُ الْخِنْزِيرِ وَمَا أُهِلَّ بِهِ لِغَيْرِ اللَّهِ. In many places in the Quran. So, non-religious slaughtering is not concerned with the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What is there in common between the two? So that's the difference. But there is one common thing between the two, is that they are both, slaughtering is done both for the purpose of food and meat,
Correct.
Whether religiously done or non-religiously done, the purpose is both food to obtain meat. Another difference is that nowadays it happens that religious slaughtering happens manually. Well, not manually, mechanically, but with the presence of a licensed slaughterman, Muslim slaughterman being there,
But even
to-
it does happen manually, maybe in other countries,
Yeah.
Asian or Muslim countries.
Well, that's another issue, obviously.
Okay.
But what is happening here in the UK, what happens here is that for the Jewish and Muslim faith, there is someone, a slaughterman, a licensed slaughterman there, who needs to be present there when mechanically slaughtered animal to name the name of Allah, to mention the name of Allah, Bismillah, Allahu Akbar, to mention it when it is mechanically done. Because that has to be done physically, with the physical presence of someone. That is the requirement religiously, both in Jewish faith and Muslim faith.
Okay.
Now, obviously there are other ways, like a tape recording of Bismillah, Allahu Akbar.
Okay, I'll come into that.
Yes,
I'll come
that's
into that
a different.
later.
That's what I said is
I'll
a
come
different
into
thing.
that later on. Yeah.
So that's the but in the non-religious slaughtering, something called stunning. Something called stunning is done before the actual slaughtering, and stunning means to make the animal unconscious for some seconds, to make it unconscious, so that it doesn't feel accordingly. It is
Okay,
supposed to.
but-
It's supposed not to feel the pain of.
I understand.
slaughtering,
Before I move on to that, I want to just touch on the Islamic principle of slaughtering.
Yeah.
Now, we know the basic principle, as you have mentioned. We know tasmiyah and tazkiyah. You've mentioned about first in taking the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Both the great major religion, they take the name of the creator of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and then slaughter. What is the other aspect? What does tazkiyah mean?
Well, tasmiyah means, as you already mentioned, is naming the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Bismillah, Allahu Akbar. That's tasmiyah.
That's
Tazkiyah means slaughtering.
Of a lawful animal.
Yes.
Okay.
Tazkiyah means slaughtering, but there are conditions with the slaughtering, or there are other principles with the slaughtering. So, the animal must be lawful Islamically.
So what do you mean when you say lawful? I mean, the
Well,
allowed
for example,
animal, the cattle.
pork. For example,
Okay.
pork is unlawful. The very animal is unlawful to eat. That is unlawful. So even if you slaughter it with the name of Allah, it doesn't
That
become
doesn't
halal.
happen. Anything which is mentioned haram
That's
cannot
right.
be
That's
slaughtered.
right. Cannot be slaughtered.
Okay.
So those animals like goat and sheep and cows,
Cattle.
cattles, they are the ones which are cattle. Yes. So they are the ones which are lawful, and they needs to be. So animal must be lawful. Number one.
Okay.
Number two, tasmiyah, name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala must be mentioned. Number three, must be slaughtered. That means the blood needs to be drained out.
As much as possible.
Yes.
Okay.
Number four, it has to be done with a very very sharp knife to lessen the pain of the animal, and it has to be done in one single run of the blade, deep enough to cut the throat, cut all the jugular veins.
Is that the manual way of doing
That's
it?
right. That's
Okay,
the manual. Even mechanically, if it is done mechanically, that's how it has to be done. And there is a hadith, the Prophet ﷺ, obviously there are other things, but the Prophet ﷺ clearly and unequivocally mentioned in a hadith that inna Allah kataba al-ihsana ala kulli shay. فإذا قتلتم فأحسنوا قتله وإذا ذبحتم فأحسنوا الذبحة وَلْيَحِدَّ أَحَدُكُمْ شَفْرَتَهُ وَلْيُرِحْ ذَبِيحَتَهُ. The Imam Muslim narrated this hadith, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has prescribed kindness for everything. So everything in this life, everything in this dunya, it has to be treated with kindness, including animal. So the Prophet ﷺ says, when you kill an animal, kill it mercifully. When you slaughter it mercifully. And then the Prophet ﷺ says that وَلْيَحُدَّ أَحَدُكُمْ شَفْرَتَهُ. The blade must be sharpened, and then so that the animal is given the maximum, the least pain.
The least pain.
least pain. So these are some of the principles of Islamic zabiha, yes, Islamic slaughtering.
Now, it's a very fundamental issue that you have touched upon is easing the pain, the
Yeah.
least pain. Now, we know there are three things that needs to be cut when slaughtering the lawful cattle.
Yeah,
One is the windpipe, the
Yeah.
second is the vessel of the neck,
yeah,
and we have to also ensure that the animal does not, we shouldn't damage the spinal cord. Is it because the animal will then, there's a possibility the animal then will die due to a cardiac arrest, which will result in blood being present in the meat rather than being drained out?
Well, this is exactly the case. This is exactly the case. One thing is obviously to be kind to the animal itself, and the other thing is to make sure that the animal meat doesn't contain any trace of blood, because blood is harmful to human health.
That's what
And
the
this
science
obviously,
confirms.
the scientifically
confirms,
proven,
yes.
because there are bacteria, there are germs, and there are parasites, etc., are there in the blood. Urea and many other things, harmful, toxics. Toxic is there.
Bacteria,
That's
germs,
right,
toxins, yes,
So
that's
all
true.
these things are there in the blood, and that is why blood is harmful. This is unanimously agreed and unanimously accepted by all the religions and secular authorities, secular organizations, everyone, all humans.
But it's not
accept.
that mentioned directly in the Qur'an about the blood being prohibited
Yes.
for Muslims, yes.
حرمت عليكم الميتة والدم ولحم الخنزير والدم.
That's clearly
حرمت
mentioned.
عليكم الميتة والدم in Surah Al-Ma'idah, and then in Surah Al-An'am, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also said, قل لا أجد فيما أوحي إلي محرما على طاعم يطعمه إلا أن يكون ميتة أو دما مسفوحا. So blood is clearly and unequivocally mentioned in the Quran.
Yeah,
obviously
that
in
is
Hadith.
not a- So is that the reason why we slaughter? So that the throat,
That's
windpipe,
right,
and the
that's
vessel
right,
of the
that's right.
neck should be
Yes,
cut,
yes, yes.
and we should ensure that the
That's
spinal cord shouldn't be damaged.
That's right.
Now, another important thing, the term used, Arabic is called zabiha. What does that term mean?
Zabiha means slaughtered. Zibh.
Slaughtered.
Zabhun, we call zabah.
Is it? It's not, some scholars say it's, yeah,
What we call zabohara. Zabo means zabh.
zabh in the Arabic.
And from zabh comes zabiha. Zabiha is the animal which is slaughtered, Islamically or religiously, following and conforming with the religious principles. That's
okay.
called zabiha.
And also another thing that I've researched and I've found that it's scientifically proven as well, the method, the way
Yeah.
zabiha is done, it creates a maximum flow, the drain of the blood outside the body,
Yeah.
rather than the other methods or mechanism that are being used to slaughter.
Well, this is the whole debate. This is the whole debate is about. Everyone, obviously, as I said, what is commonly agreed upon is that the animal is killed or slaughtered for the purpose of meat, food.
Mhm.
That everyone agrees. Secondly, everyone agrees that the animal needs to be treated with utmost kindness, and therefore, it has to be slaughtered or killed with the least pain.
Now,
That's also agreed upon in unanimously.
Yeah.
Everybody agrees, whether religious or non-religious. What is then the debate is about is how to do that, how to make
process.
sure, how to ensure that the animal gets the least pain. Now, non-religious slaughtering, they say stunning. But until now, and I have been reading some of the some sources. One very good article written by one brother called Dr. Abdul Majid Qatame. I'm sure he is very known in the UK, and he's a TV presenter as well. And he's a very good researcher, scholar in this particular field. And he has he wrote a very useful and informative article on assessment of Muslim or Islamic slaughtering. And in this, he discussed in length and he refuted all the evidences gathered by animal rights activists, RSPCA and all others, in support for stunning. Until now, it hasn't been scientifically unanimously proved that stunning is the least painful for the animal.
I see.
Because after the stunning, animal is slaughtered. Whether we don't understand the animal language, do we?
No, we don't.
Animal, no one, so whether or not stunning is the least painful is very difficult to scientifically prove it.
But one thing we know scientifically for sure, that when we slaughter the vessels of the nerves, the neck, the vessels of the neck, when we slaughter, one of the nerves that is responsible to generate pain while we slaughter, that is disconnected.
Yeah.
So the fact or the allegation that is always laid on the religious slaughtering is that animal dies due to pain. But the scientific evidence tells us when we slaughter an animal, the vessels of the necks are being cut. So the nerve that is responsible to generate the pain will lose the connection with the brain. So the animal does not die then due to pain, but due to the relaxation and contraction of the muscle, which is generated due to the deficiency in blood.
Well, that's what it, you know, that's the whole debate. As I said, the whole debate is about. Obviously, those non-religious practitioners, non-religious people, they rely on, you know, stunning with the assumption, with the belief that this gives the least payment, least pain. Now, as I said earlier, until now, even scientists agree that there is no way to absolutely make sure that, you know, there is least pain with stunning. Secondly, on the religious side, we must accept that any animal, anything, if we cut the throat of any animal, it goes through some pain anyway, whichever method we use it. Religiously, we rely on the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the creator of humans and everything else.
True.
And it is the way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself has prescribed, you know, the slaughter, the manual slaughter and the slaughter in this way. And therefore, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, knowing Allah is the most merciful, knowing that this is going to be the least painful, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has prescribed it. And though non-religious people argue against this sort of slaughtering, manual slaughtering or religious slaughtering, but they are also, it is also very difficult for them to prove that this is the most painful. So there is argument for and there is argument against.
Now we know there are different forms of even stunning.
Yeah.
The electrifications or the metal blockade and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But what I'll do, we're coming closer to a break. When we come back from the break, I would love to put throw some light on this particular aspect, different forms of stunning, and whether stunning would be allowed in Islam or not.
Right. Yeah.
My dear viewers, it's time for a short commercial break. We have been discussing about the religious slaughtering. Is it allowed to the reasons that are being laid or accusation that has been laid on us that it is very inhumane or the animal dies due to the pain. We are trying to find out how true is this. Do stay tuned with us. When we come back from our break, we will be discussing further on the issue of stunning and whether the stunning process is allowed in Islam. Stay connected, inshallah. We'll see you after a short break. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.